Okay. Yeah, it should be good now. Hey guys. Alright. I'm just doing a little bit of a a share of the thing. And then we can get ready to go. Yeah, so how is everybody doing at the moment? How are y'all doing? Because, fair warning, right now, kind of dealing with period brain at the moment, so, fun times. Super duper awesome tastic fun times. Yeah. Alright. And Mom's doing an experiment to see if we can get corn dogs to work. Of a fashion, sort of. Excited to discuss the new book, though. Physically tired. Yeah, I am with you on that. Mentally here. Physically exhausted. Ow! Come on. Come on! Really? Really? Is it too much to ask that I be able to plug in my phone while I'm using it to reference notes? Really? Is that seriously too much of a thing? Nope. Go over there. Okay. So, also just a forewarning, fireworks have been going off periodically all day, so that was just another one. I don't know if the mic picked it up, but for anyone that's an issue for you, just be aware of that. Yeah. Greetings, guys, gals, and non-binary pals, and welcome back to the channel. My name's Rin, and today we are working on chapters 1 and 2 of Daughter of the Forest by Juliet Marillier. Now, okay. Being perfectly honest here, the majority of the fiction that I read in high school and, like, most of undergrad, at least, that wasn't school assigned and wasn't fan made was historical fiction, specifically from the Celtic region. So, yeah. I have this book. Like, I didn't recognize the title, and I didn't know the author, but I have this cover somewhere. And I'm pretty sure I've read the thing that this cover is attached to, but I have no actual recall of the story. So, it's gonna be interesting. Being that there's like 3 storylines, I think it's like 3 trilogies or so, that have the same sort of vibe to them as what I'm getting from this. So yeah, just like I have a copy of Wolfskin somewhere, but I can't find it. Yeah. Which, like, once I have sorted my stuff out better, and I've, like, rediscovered, um, my books from that era, uh, I'll be busting out some suggestions of my own, because, like, I have a few that are very similar to this, that, like, y'all might be interested in. I just cannot for the life of me remember what they're called at this point, so there's that. Also, just side tangent here, right? I found a pattern. It's supposed to be for like a demon dude, so just like with little horns and wings and stuff. But so far, this is what I've got. Little guy, and I'm trying to figure whether or not to make the arms and legs black or white with sparkles. It's like this is the white. Because like white kind of looks like clouds. I don't know. Or to have it be like white legs with like black on the bottom of the feet or something like that. I don't know. What do you think? But if I can get this one to work, then I can use it as a base for like some of the other little character guys that I was wanting to do. So, I don't know. We'll see. Anyway, stay. Sparkly rainbow demon, how can terms hate the cuteness, really? Right, right. Yeah. That's kind of where where I was going, honestly. We choose sparkly white. Alright. That works. I'll do the arms and then see how I'm feeling, maybe bottom of the feet for black or something, but yeah, I am with you there. So, where was I? Oh, somewhere. Yeah, anyway. Seriously though, up until like 20 minutes ago, when I looked up the title so I could pop it up here, like, the only familiarity that I had with the title was, like, it being suggested for the book club. And then I see this and it's like, wait a second! You're on my shelf somewhere. uh, honestly. So, there's that. Fun times. Yeah. Would like to go back in time and screw up the experiments that led to inventing fireworks. Have a feeling that would be a whack-a-mole game, though. Yeah, from the sounds of it, it was kind of like a multi-part experiment situation. But, like, there's just the idea that it's one of those things where it's like, from what I remember, it started off as a military ordnance situation. Just like, it makes interesting colors. Let's use it for celebrations too. What? That was a choice. But okay. So, yeah. Basically. Alright. Anything else? Also, just as a heads up, I can't really hear it, but if my speech pattern is a little bit off right now, I'm dealing with like a kind of massive canker sore, just like right up on the inside of my lip there, so that would be why. Anyway, moving on. Yeah, so. Alright, so, and I've got the notes on my phone over here, so when I'm looking down, that's what this is. Not hearing anything off, hope it heals soon. Yeah, I'm working with it, it's just being annoying. Okay. Okay, one second, I need to check some. Sorcha. Sorcha? Okay, that impacts how I'm spelling it, definitely. Alright. Because what I was hearing was Sorcha, which is spelled differently than what it's apparently. Okay. So, before I dive into my notes and stuff, any thoughts y'all want to share with the class, or nah? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. All right. That's what was throwing me off, cause like that is Sorcha, and that's the only like kind of variant that I've heard. So yeah, okay. I just need to write down the pronunciation, otherwise I will forget it. There we go. Okay. Sorcha. Yeah. There we go. Okay. Nope. Let me backspace, dang it. Yeah. Alright. So. No? Did it charge him? Anyway. Yeah. So, we've got Sorcha, the main character there. It's not phonetically spelled Cornelius American. Yeah. Yeah, no, yeah. There's a few Irish names that I've gotten to where I know how to spell it, regardless of how it's pronounced, because, you know, yeah, I have cousins named, um, Maeve and Eva, so it's a slightly different spelling set than what I'm used to, uh, with, you know, America and all that. But yeah, it, yeah, cool. Um, just like for Finbar, usually Finn is like two ends instead of the one that my brain wanted to do the first round or so. So fun times. Anyway, anyway. So we've got uh chapter one opening with Sorcha and two two of her brothers hanging out by the lake, um, in the forest. Well, the entire place is in the forest, honestly. Uh, in a place called Sevenwaters. Um, where magic is happening, and it's just kind of known to the locals that if you go wandering off into the forest, you're probably gonna either get dead or taken by the fairies. So, yeah. Sounds like a very large forest. It does. It really does. It, it really, really does. But yeah. Speaking of, let me just see something real quick. Okay. Um. Okay. Okay. So there's. Sevenwaters' location is in County Armagh, Ireland, in the Ring of Gillion. I know I'm pronouncing that wrong. The nearest town is Newry. The lake described in the book is much larger than the real one, which could just be because it shrank over the couple of centuries. So, there's that. Was there anything mentioned that made you think, hey, that wouldn't grow there? Not necessarily. Let's see. Okay. Celtic Twilight. Oh, there's a real world analog. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, let me see. Okay. Okay, so we've got a map of Ireland here, right? And if you zoom in a little bit, this up here is the border for Northern Ireland, and Armagh is like right where my fingernail is, right there. And then you go in a little bit closer, and we've got actually we've got Armagh up there and Newry over here. Come on. So yeah. Which would make sense, really. Because that's the closest point between. Yeah. If they're fighting off the Picts and the Britons and basically anyone else, that's the closest point between like Scotland and Ireland, like right here. And Armagh, or well, what is it? We've got Newry, like right at the end of this like inlet right here, because there's a river that goes up. So if there's people on campaign from that point going up around Belfast and other surrounding areas, wouldn't be out of the realm of possibility right in there. So interesting. There's the lake on the map, the lake in the book. Do you think it could be? Okay, let me see. Hmm. Okay. Mhm. Ah, apparently no. Okay. Yeah. So the prospective spot that it would be is where the red dot is down there, which would make sense because Newry is like right there. Um, and that's still in County Armagh, but that's the Ring of Glion down there. Um, yeah. Apparently, the Ring of Glion is designated as Anob. That's the official designation, standing for an area of outstanding natural beauty. Which, alright, cool. Um, the area centers on Slave Glion, the highest peak in County Armagh, measuring roughly 42 by 18 kilometers, or 26 by 11 miles, and comprises some 150 square kilometers defined topographically by the hills of an ancient ring dike. Parts of the area have also been officially listed as areas of special scientific interest. Alright. Alright. Okay. I popped a link in the thing. But yeah, cool. Alright. So there we go. Slight tangent on that one. But yeah. Okay. So A the thing containing the link. Yes. The Discord, yes. Thank you. Thank you, friends. So right off the bat, we see the rapport between Sorcha and her brothers. So that's obviously going to be a really pivotal component to the rest of the story. And within the first, like, scene or so, she's telling a story about how everyone was kind of playing or doing whatever at the lake, and she went to grab this new and interesting gray flower sort of thing, and I think it was Finbar who kept trying to get her to not go near it, and she didn't listen, so got stung by what was it? Starwort, that's what it was. And ended up with, like, little painful spines in her hands and stuff that had to get removed. The spines, not the hands, obviously. But, you know. And having it bandaged with marigold and things better in the morning. Is starwort a type of nettle? That is a good question. Well, that's helpful. What is starwort? Any number of plants with star-like flowers or leaves. Alright. Okay. It's probably that one. Hmm. Okay, let's see if I can get this to actually do something. This is one common names. Because they're so common. Right? It's like, okay, I appreciate that it's a common name and it's more easily memorable than some other ones. Like, I get it, but also, just a little bit of something else, maybe, just a little bit, something. Um. Alright. Let's Let's see. Okay. It wouldn't be Nettle. Okay. Let me see. It could be Water Starwort though. I don't know. Hmm. Yeah. Okay. Does does Water Starwort sting? Right. I'm just getting like lists of books at this point, which is I'm not mad at exactly. It's like Natural History of Stockholm or no, Stockholm. Yeah, Natural History of Stockholm Island and the New York Botanical Garden Illustrated Encyclopedia and British Wildflowers and stuff. So like that's cool. Um, but also not what I was looking for. So there's that. Um, yeah. Uh, be that as it may. Um, there we go. So, to answer the question, don't rightly know. I would hazard that it's not Nettle though, just because Nettle tends to have not well. It doesn't have star-shaped flowers. However, they do have kind of a grayish yellow colored flower. So there's that. So not nettle or thistle, but similar armament. Yeah. From the sounds of it, it's she would have only been like 5 probably at that point. So reaching out to grab a hold of something and knowing how I was when I was a kid of like, this is cool. I will grab the flower. That's a full-handed motion. It's not like a delicate trying to pick something and like you don't know what it is, so you just, do a light motion. It's like a full hand involvement. So if it's got the needle-like spines like urticaceae plants do, it would have the entire surface area of the hand to contact. And being that those plants have like hypodermic needles essentially as spines, it goes in real far. And either you have to go through and kind of pull out the spines, or just wait for them to stop being annoying. Which, depending on the toxin that is being used, urticaceae, because causes urticaria, makes sense. Exactly. Where was I? It depends on the toxin being used and the individual that's running into it. Because I know Nettle stings a bunch, and if you run into it, the skin that has made contact with the plant is going to be a lot more sensitive, like to touch, for a while, at least a couple of days, generally. Kind of like if you have kind of low-grade skin irritation from the sun. But as you get more exposed to it, sometimes that stops. Just because your system has gotten used to the material. But it's a numbing agent and is used as a pain reliever and to help relax muscles because it is a numbing agent. And speaking from personal experience, those numbing properties tend to affect within like 5-10 minutes. But the remedy for nettle is burdock. Like if you fall in a nettle patch, you find a burdock plant, take one of the leaves and just kind of crush it up so that it brings the oils and juices and stuff to the surface, and then apply it to whatever the part of the body is that made contact with the nettle, and then just like, if you can, wrap it or hold it on for however long, and it'll take the sting away, at least partially. Or dock leaf, according to Wall. Yeah, dock would be a good one. Well, actually, if I'm remembering correctly, dock leaf and burdock are the same plant, I believe. Before I say that, for definite though, I'm gonna look it up, because that makes sense. Okay. Oh, never mind. Never mind. That is one of those times that, like, the lack of creativity in naming things is seriously messing with everybody. And by everybody, I mean me, because, honestly. Okay. Okay. So we've got dot on this side, that's the kind of gray one, and burdock on the other side over here. So if I'm remembering right, it's burdock root and dock leaves. Demand unique identifiers like into passwords. Burdock shall henceforth be. Burdock shall henceforth be known as B11R capital D at K exclamation point. Nice. Very nice. Yeah, no, it, okay. Which, honestly, that just tells me that, when I was being told about Doc, I didn't realize it was a different plant, so just obviously ID'd it in my head as the same thing. Alright, yeah. So no yeah, that would make sense, actually. Because dandelion and burdock is like a digestive tonic. So if dock is a separate entity that's a neutralizer to like nettle and stuff. Okay. It also tends to grow roundabouts where Nettle is too, so. Which is useful. Ow, ow. I'm alright, it's just my jaw sometimes gets kinda funky on one side or the other. And because of the canker sores, my chewing's been kinda off the last couple days, so it's messed with the jaw alignment a little bit. Okay. If Doc is an H2 antagonist, it can work for both stomach and skin rash. Yeah, that could be a thing. Thank you for the hugs, friends. Yeah. Good point. Alright. No way. Marigold's an antiseptic. Okay. Yeah. According to Ayurvedic and Unani medicine, the flowers and leaves of marigold have anti-inflammatory, antipyretic, antimicrobial, and anti-epileptic effects. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Also, I'm popping a link in the Discord again. There's a study that I don't know who would have done it exactly. But there was a study that someone did about the efficacy of marigold leaves and turmeric paste on incisions. So, yeah. Excuse me. So there's that. Interesting stuff. So, in the first chapter, right, we see Sorcha teaching herself about plants, which, cool, awesome, all that. But it's not until chapter 2 when she's talking to What's the dude's name? Is it Father Brian? Yeah. When just talking to Father Brian, that we get the little bit of exposition that she and the brothers that were more interested in learning than were had been like raiding the strongholds, stores of scrolls and books and stuff in order to learn things, which really makes more sense than some like 9-year-old just kind of roaming around the forest, trying out different concoctions of things and hopefully not dying horribly. So, positives there. That's also about when we get the little tidbit of Connor? Yeah. Of Connor being a druid. Yeah, it would be the druids. Because it was intended to be broken up into three. So we've got the bards that are the storytellers and keepers of song and that set of knowledge. The ovates that were like the lawyers essentially, and the druids that were are depending on where you are and the belief systems. That it's right there. It disappeared. It's like it's one of those times that if I start typing it out, then I'll probably remember what I was saying. Okay. So to the chat for a second. There we go. Druids do everything else we'd say. Yeah, basically. It generally, from everything that I've read over the years, Druids were essentially in charge of, like, running the community and would enact treaties and sometimes putting themselves in direct line of fire between opposing forces, because both sides traditionally respected the position and respected that part of the culture enough that if one of the druids wanted to speak, if one of the druids asked for a ceasefire, then they would stop fighting and hear what they had to say. So you've got the bards, who are the most well-known, evidently, you know, just because they were traveling minstrels, essentially, and would disseminate knowledge that way. You've got the obates that were the lawyers. You've got the druids, who was the entire political system, essentially. But also the high priests and arbiters of peace, if you will. So, just, like, knowing that, even before Father Brian was essentially kind of alluding to Connor taking over as head of the household, even though he's, like, the third son, I think. That seemed like it was kind of an evident choice there. On top of which, even though he's only, like, what, 17? 19, however old he is, he's been doing, he's been taking care of the whole place for probably years at this point, when everyone else is going off to kill everything that's not them, really. And we get even more of a glimpse of that hearing Simon talk about how foreigners are treated, which, yeah, if you've invaded a land, like, the people there are going to have a negative response to it, probably, yeah. But also, like, there's just abject slaughter happening from the sounds of it. At which point, it doesn't seem like Simon would have any reason to lie about any of that, aside from just trying to get under everybody's skin. But dude's been essentially bedridden for, like, weeks, so aside from the, like, angle of the injured character lashing out because that's the only way they can defend themselves at this point, what would he have to gain from, like, any of that if it didn't have some element of truth to it? And we already know by that point that the kid's dad has, like, no, like, compassion at all for the foreigners that happen to be in the area. Simon's being truthful from his perspective. Yeah, exactly. Like, all of them up to this point, the four main characters in these two chapters. So we've got Finbar, Serica, Simon, and Father Brian, right? All four of them seem to be incredibly truthful with how they have experienced the world. And there's conflicts within that because perceptions of reality are very different between those in the settlement and those who happen to be foreign born or have foreign ancestry and have been negatively impacted by those of the forest and probably surrounding areas. But their dad seems to have a very particular axe to grind with anyone not from air, which is a whole thing in and of itself. And I totally get wanting to reclaim an ancient, like, ancestral sacred space, but to do it to the detriment of others who are just kind of trying to exist is not the way to go about doing it, you know? It's part of what makes it so wrenching and impactful. Each side is bringing truth. Exactly. Exactly. Like, it would be one thing if one side was objectively just bad and was intentionally, like, trying to gaslight everybody. But, like, it's a bunch of kids and an old man. A 50-something-year-old, like, priest guy who's just kind of trying to keep his people alive and, like, not killing each other all the time. And it's just, yeah. I don't know. Which, like, it is interesting because on one hand, it's like the kids have a less complicated way of looking at the world. Like, this is objectively bad, you're hurting someone. This is objectively good because we're helping someone. But, like, I can see where the adults, specifically, like, the dad, is coming from like, I couldn't save, my wife, so therefore I have to make sure that everyone is fine, or whatever the reason for going on campaign for like 90% of the time is there. But like, also, just like with anything else, like, if you end up fully taken over by whatever the cause is, whatever it happens to be, regardless of how good the intention of it is, it's not gonna end up good, you know? Each side is blind, it's so frustrating. Exactly. Oh, man. And then we've got Lynn, who's just, like, hanging out with everybody and being a just generally awesome wolfhound. Because, seriously, dogs are awesome. They just are. And, like, alright, just as a thing, Brindle patterning is gorgeous. And the idea that someone would be like, you know what? This litter of puppies, like, isn't as pure-blooded as we want it to be, so I'm gonna kill him now. It's like, yeah, no, how about we don't do that? Okay. I forgot I was gonna charge my headphones while we were doing stream. 1 second. There we go. Alright. And down you go. And we're back. When's the best? Seriously, like, she's a super special being that deserves all of the snuggles and the pets and just, seriously, honestly. Yeah. So, also, like, I realize that how old would we just say Simon is? Because, like, everyone who has a speaking role talking about him keeps describing him as a boy. So I'm inclined to say that he's like, what, 14 or something? Maybe? 14, 15, something like that? And Sorcha's 12. But has been told by the forest spirit that she's going to be going on a long and arduous journey. So, I don't know, Simon's 15 or 16, we think? Okay. Because just how things are framed, and, like, I realize that, like, Liam got engaged to, and he's, like, what, 19 or however old he is, and Uh, Ilyich is 15. So there's that. So we've got Simon, who is too weak to travel, but needs to go somewhere so that he can, be safe and recover. And we've got Sorcha, who is 12, and, like, her brothers keep trying to get her back to the house, but she's like, nah, I'm taking care of my patient, so I'm gonna stay here. Which, fine. But with the particular markers and stuff, I'm getting the distinct, like, coding that Simon is meant to be her love interest. At least, like, a couple years down the line or something. Because I know for Wolfskin there were a couple of, like, foundational chapters where, like, it's talking about the main characters being kids, and then it jumped forward a couple of years, and we saw them as, like, late teens, young adults, sort of a thing. And being that it's the same author, I'm guessing it's gonna do a similar sort of thing for this. But I don't know on that. That was a thought that I had in there. Do you want us to give spoilers? I mean, if you want to, like, I'm cool just, like, reading it and being like, ah, so that's what happened. So, like, because, I know I have this thing somewhere, but I have literally no recollection of ever reading it, so I don't know. Which, honestly, it might be that either I was waiting for a sequel to come out and then just read everything together and then forgot that I had it, or there was a span of time where if someone gave me a book, regardless of whether or not I was into the subject matter or not, because someone else had given me a book, then I wouldn't want to read it, or, like, the impetus to read it wouldn't be there. So, like, that might have happened, I don't know. But speaking of love interests, Sorcha isn't asexual, but her reaction to Liam's engagement is so funny and reads very ace. Like, seriously, like, I kept having to remind myself, like, how old she was at that particular, just because it was like, ah, interesting. Because, on the one hand, like, totally get it. On the other hand, either ace, or that tends to just be a reaction that's depicted when the character's, like, younger. But, alright, cool. And we shall strive not to spoil. Yeah, I don't know. Well, thank you. Just, okay. the sleeping draft though for the dudes guarding Simon, right? Got Witch's Bonnet, Devil Spawn, Henbane, and Nightshade. And I like that the Nightshade is the only one that she's really cautious about using too much of. Which, again, which one? Which one are you using? Because there's at least three. So, yeah, is this a Belladonna type situation? Or is this, like, one of the other ones? I don't know. I don't know. Which is fun, because, looking through Gerard's Herbal and stuff, it's got the same situation of, like, ah yes, the Nightshade was used for this. Like, I realize that this predates Linnaeus and all that, but y'all couldn't have come up with some method of making it less convoluted to try and read what you're asking people to do for medication and stuff. We read that as we're being caution with all of them and extra cautious with Nightshade. That too. Um, but like Henbane tends to be just as volatile as Nightshade is. So unless there was a particular event specifically associated with Nightshade that we don't know about, where like someone took too much and died, or there was a particular passage in one of the books, or a particular note that one of the midwives had made about that specific plant, and to be careful of dosing for that specific plant. I'm not entirely sure why there's specific emphasis on that one over the rest. Is what I'm saying. Because they're all like potentially really volatile depending on the concentration and application and stuff. But yeah. Interesting things. Also, let me just see. Right. So That's the wrong one. Okay. Wolf's Claw is a club moss. Yeah. That's Wolf's Claw. Okay. Mistletoe is giving Simon as heroic medicine, right? Basically, yeah. However, I will say, for that, it depends. Taken as a tonic, yeah, no, but it was also kind of like a cure-all, specifically when nothing else would work. So yeah, heroic medicine. But for a big period of history, just like there's reports where particular emperors in China would take mercury to strengthen their bodies. So I think, oh, what was it? I remember something about taking mercury to help make you immortal, something like that. It's the same sort of vein. Or like, mm, yeah. But like the first use mentioned was essentially making like a ring of it and putting it above Simon's bed. So like to ward off the bad spirits and negativity and things. And that would be fine. It would be the same as hanging it in a doorway or something to like bring positive energy and luck and things. Having it as a tonic, to drink it, depends. There's some, not much admittedly, but there's some research that's been done, I think, on particular cancers because it was a treatment for that. And there's been a little bit of research on some other things, but especially at the time, it was kind of seen as like the most holy plant because it grew and never touched the ground, and because it grew in the branches of the sacred trees. And sometimes it seems to have helped. Yeah, no worries. No worries. Sometimes it seems to have helped. And other times it seems to have not. But whether that's due to the mistletoe itself or some other component, who knows? um, I do kind of like the idea of, like, I mean, Sorcha would need to keep herself entertained in order to stay awake and keep an eye on Simon and stuff, in order to monitor his vitals and all that. But just the idea of, like, well, what can I talk to this random mystery dude about? I know! How about the random stories that people tell around the fireplaces and stuff? Uh, at my people's gatherings and whatnot. But, like, in a language that this dude can probably, understand and stuff. Yeah, alright, have at it. And just go from there. Like, alright, cool. Cool. Appreciate that. Also, I would not have combined mallow root and lavender as, like, or, as, or, that's, no, okay. Was reading 3 lines of notes at the same time. Mallow root and elderflower as an ointment, or use either of them as an ointment, but yeah. They're not random, they're another medicine. Exactly. But it's like one of those, it's a story that has a particular purpose, but, like, the thought process of sitting down and, what should I talk about? How about this? Yeah, alright. And it working. Yeah. Very cool. Oh. I mean, between that, oh yeah, it took a while to realize that when Sorcha is talking about, like, sharing an unspoken, like, communication with Finbar, it wasn't metaphorical. Like, I was totally thinking, when characters are just kind of halfway across the room and, like, looking off to something, like, yeah, you see that? You saw that too? That was a choice. Like, with an eye roll or something. Like, nah, it's, like, fully image sharing. Like, alright. That is part of the canon. Cool. That is a thing that some characters can do in this storyline. I'm down. I'm down for that. Good to see some rep in there for particular things that I have experience with sometimes. Yeah, fun times. So we've got that, and the visit from Deidre, the Lady of the Forest. Is that Deirdre? Is that her name? I think so. Yeah. So between that, Finbar, uh, having the sight, so being a seer essentially, and apparently their mom possibly had that too, and Connor being a druid, like it's setting up an interesting dynamic, especially when their father seems to have no use for any of that and just wants to like slash and burn to anything that doesn't follow his idea of reality. Um yeah. I do like the idea that in this story we've got the only um girl in the family of boys who's also the youngest, and a lot of them, like, aside from trying to protect her, they don't treat her as like an inferior being from the looks of it. It's just like, alright, you're gonna do whatever, okay, fine, just don't be stupid about it. My dad knows the magic is there and real, but after losing his wife, can't bear to see it, so he blocks it out. Yeah, yeah, no, totally get that. Totally get that. It's like, because of how volatile he seems to be in regards to specifically the Britons, also, just like, didn't register it, but we've got the spirit dragon and the wolf there, so the forest guardians there, which, haha, fun times. Anyway, but with how volatile Connor, is that whatever the dad's name is? Because we've got Cormac and Connor Yeah. It was close to those two. But, yeah. The... Column. There we go. Also, if you hear clicking sounds, it's this stuff. With how volatile Column tends to be, from what little we've seen of him at least, towards those who actively go against him, or against what he perceives as best practice, I guess. He seems to have kind of accepted that Connor is gonna do his thing. But if they stay at Sevenwaters and don't have to go on some kind of adventure like right now, it's probably not gonna be too long a time before, like, the hammer's seriously coming down on Sorcha and Finbar. Especially with that really ominous, like, that was when she came, that Sorcha was mentioning in chapter 1. Which I don't know if it's what's your face? Starts with an A. I don't know that she was talking about Eilish for that whole situation, because that sounded like a thing where Colin was gonna bring someone in to, I don't know, teach Sorcha how to be a lady or something. It could have been Eilish, as like, this is a person that you should be more like, so like, do that. But also, I realize that there's an entire, like, 20-something hours left of story to get through to figure out what is going on. So, yeah. Eilish is what she seems to be. Okay. Yeah, she seems, like, kind of innocuous and kind of cool and just doing her own thing, so, alright. Good to know. So that tells me that there's someone else who's, like, Not the best of people, probably. Yeah. Especially because, like, Eilish and Liam seems, like, genuinely, like, happy and stuff, so. Yeah. Alright. But yeah. There's that. Um. Actually. Oh, no. Alright. So, the Rowan tree, right, is known as the Tree of Life in Celtic mythology and symbolizes courage, wisdom, and protection. So, having. Where did you go? There we go. Having Rowan trees standing guard outside the cottage is very much a protection thing. The birch is a pioneer species that gives it a symbol of rebirth, new beginnings, and growth. It's a sacred tree within the mythology of the Celts and is thought to have very protective influences. It's almost always the first species to regrow in places of tragedy, like a forest fire or after the Great Ice Age. It can thrive in harsh conditions of low nutrient soils and colder climates. So, like, if there's a really tense, inhospitable kind of emotional environment. There we go. Holds strong connections with feminine energies, and in Celtic lore is known as the Lady of the Woods. Its most recognizable features are the paper-thin bark that peels to reveal dark fissures along the trunk and the delicate flowing leaves that cover the tree in summer. The leaves of the birch can be brewed into tea that can be used to treat infection and remove excess water from the body. And oh yeah, the birch tree was the center of the Beltane festival, now more commonly known as May Day. Maypoles would be created from the wood of the birch, and everyone would gather round and dance to ensure a fruitful harvest that year. Oh. Um. Okay. So yeah. The only other bits that I've got are because the audio didn't out have like an audible like this is now chapter 3 or whatever. I was like 9 minutes into chapter 3, and we've got Simon talking about an older brother and a younger brother, and they look almost identical, and they have a lot of the same features and traits and things, but because the older brother was slightly older, he'd had a few more years to get the people in the community to like him more. So the younger brother went off to do something, and like I know that it could be some kind of allegory, or it could be like hypothetical or whatever, but being that like literary analysis doesn't tend to work like that, and all of that, I'm guessing that he's the younger brother in this scenario. Just a thought. And like was sent on a mission to do something and couldn't because of reasons, like, you know, being captured and tortured for hours. Yeah, you would be guessing correctly. All right, yeah. So there's that. um, yeah. So that's where I left off. Yeah. So that being said, any other thingamabobbles or whatnot? I do find it interesting that Connor knows Ogham. When it's traditionally the only like written language to come out of like Druidic practice. So either he would have needed to get instruction from other Druids, or the spirits, or it's a past life thing. I don't know. Do you know what wolf's claw is? Yep, yeah. Where is it? This guy. It's kind of club moss. Connor's gotten some secret training from Druids as well as reading stuff in the family library. Yeah. No, definitely. Just like the way that Brian was describing it, it's that he found some information just like you. So just like Sorcha and Finbar. He had some instruction from others like him, like going to other druids. And there were some things that he just knew. So either he's been getting like random visitations from like the forest spirits, or it's an innate thing, at which point, if it's an innate thing that you just know or know parts of and can go find the rest of the info for, is it like Sorcha and Finbar with the nonverbal, like, pictographic communication? Or is it like something that he's experienced before in a past incarnation? Whether or not that has any bearing on the rest of the story, or is ever going to be explained at all, I don't know. Probably won't, but it's a thing that I was cogitating. Yeah. The spores of, okay, and at this point it's like Ulfod, Wolf's Claw, and sometimes like, what was it? Yeah, Antler Herb, Club Moss, Common Club Moss, Foxtail, Ground Pine, Lycopod, Muscus terracis, Repens, Running Club Moss, Running Pine, Stag's Horn Club Moss, Vegetable Sulfur, that's a fun one, Witch's Meal, and Wolf's Claw. Was earlier characteristic in common plant in Danish heaths and pastures, but it must now be considered very rare in Jutland and Bornholm. and rare upon other Danish isles. The spores of the plant were once used as an antispasmodic means for children and against hiccups, coughs, and whooping cough. All green parts were used in liver, bladder, and gall disorders. The uses of the spores alone dates from the 17th century. They have a strong repulsive power that if the hand is powdered with them, it can be dipped in water without becoming wet. Interesting. The fine spores make a yellow powder called witch flour because when it's set on fire, burns without smoke. Club moss spores are used in sound experiments, being so fine they vibrate into patterns of sound waves, and also for stage effects and fireworks since they are flammable. The spores have been used by violin makers as a pore filter. Stag's horn club moss, or wolf's claw, was considered a magic plant which was able to protect against witches and trolls. In order to protect oneself against the evil forces, you could wear a belt made of wolf's claw on Midnight's Eve. The animals in the stable were protected if the farmer hung the plant above the stable door. Interesting. Apparently, it's also an Imperial-class Star Destroyer in Star Wars. So there's that. Okay. So, that's all I've got in my notes. Interesting. Yeah. That's all I've got in my notes as far as that goes. Let's see. So for next week, what do you think? 3 and 4 for the reading portion. 3 and 4 sounds good. All right. All right. So I'm feeling the fading start to happen, and they're starting to ramp up the outside sounds and whatnot. And eat food. So I think I'm gonna call it here. Anything else before we sign off? Or no? Yeah, that was a good discuss. Enjoying so far? Yeah. Yeah, no, I am definitely enjoying it so far. Yeah. Yeah. Like, there's elements that are like, ha, but also like historical accuracy and all that. So, yeah. Yeah. Very much a yay. Very much. There you go. Okay. Have a fantastic rest of your day. Have a fantastic rest of your day. Alright. Talk to you later, everybody. Bye. And yeah, remember chapters 3 and 4 for Daughter of the Forest for next week. Have a fabulous one. I will see all of you later in the Discord or on Thursday, whichever comes first. We'll see. Anyway, bye for now, everybody. Have a good one. And if you're watching this on YouTube, remember all of the links and everything are in the description down below. And if you want to see live recordings of book club stream stuff, it's at twitch.tv/adventure. Also in the description. Have a good one, everybody. I'll see you later.